I'm Mike Fisher, 105.3 The Fan, The Fish, here at the Star in Frisco. You can hear a little Motown music in the back, and you can hear some buzz of folks who are hanging around here as well, doing a variety of things. And maybe among the variety of things they're doing is worrying about Ezekiel Elliott and his contractual situation and the report slash rumors of a potential holdout. Let's dig into this thing. In mid-May, we asked Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott, he was at the Home Run Derby, I believe, when we did this, about his response to the white noise that comes with contract negotiations. His quote, "I'm not concerned. I just go out there and play football. I'm going to do what I've been doing." That was his way of answering his contractual difficulties. His contractual decision was, I'm just going to go play football and do what I'm doing. Now, according to a national report, that sentiment has changed, as Elliott has said privately that he'll sit out training camp unless he gets a new contract. This according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. But let's slow down here a little bit. The Cowboys' stated position is that Elliott, quote, is the straw that stirs the drink. That's from Stephen Jones, who said that, by the way, to PFT. We certainly want him to get done. He's a key part of what we're about. No argument there. I would add to that, in addition to the key part and the straw that stirs the drink and the desire to have Ezekiel Elliott be a long-term piece here, dig back into Florio's article where he writes that Zeke, quote, could be looking for at least $10 million annually on his next deal. Now, dear Cowboy fans, Stephen has called Rams running back Todd Gurley and his contract, $14 million annual salary, the ground floor of what Dallas plans to pay Elliott. Not $10 million. I'm not sure where Florio got that. It's $14 million. Stephen's already said it. I would suggest, as I did this morning to Sean and RJ, that if Ezekiel Elliott, if all he wants is $10 million, the Cowboys might do that deal today. Quote from Stephen on that subject. We certainly saw what Gurley got paid, and we know that's probably where it starts, and we'll go from there. Not 10, 14. The Cowboys' position, though, is that there not need to be an accelerated timetable here because Zeke is already under contract for 2 more seasons, $3.85 million this year, $9.09 million in 2020. Quote from Stephen, we've got a couple of years to get that done. Now that's a comment that might not have played well in the Zeke camp, but contractually speaking, officially speaking, that is indeed true. At first CBA glance, it seems that an Elliott holdout would eat into the 2019 season, and if it ate in by 7 games or more, it would cost him a chance at free agency in 2021 when his contract is up, rendering the threat of a long-term in-season holdout pretty empty. In other words, if you want your accrued season, this is conventional wisdom, we saw it with Le'Veon Bell, you got to show up in time to play 10 games so you can get the accrued season so you can eventually be free. But as Yahoo's Charles Robinson and yours truly reported last night on Twitter, there is a CBA rule that the Cowboys believe, and I believe, usurps that 16-game, 10-game thing, and it is this fairly obscure rule. A player must show up to camp by 30 days before the start of the NFL season, or he will not be eligible for an accrued year. Elliott needs to preserve the eligibility for an accrued year so he can be a free agent after his 2 years are up here. But if he doesn't show up to camp 30 days before the start of the NFL season, he loses that year. Gone. And that's August 6th in Oxnard. Show up on August 7th, you've lost the year. Show up August 6th, you're in good shape. That's the deadline. And that's where the leverage goes away. And in fact, I would argue the leverage doesn't even exist now because the Cowboys know this rule. I'm not sure that Zeke's side knows this rule, but the Cowboys know it, and they believe in it. Lose the season by not reporting by August 6th, and Elliott wastes a year of moving towards becoming a free agent. It's kind of confusing, kind of gray, I'll admit, but know that what I'm saying here is what the Cowboys front office is working off, and they should probably be trusted when it comes to the CBA rules and Ezekiel Elliott. Meanwhile, a source tells us that negotiations between the team and Zeke are, quote, not close. though obviously that can change with a phone call. Elliott needing to show up to camp by August 6th is critical to his future. And then, as we all know, the Cowboys needing Elliott to play 16 games, pretty critical to their future too, and their present. Our understanding is that the position from Elliott's side is that this concept of a holdout is a thought, a consideration. It's conceptual more than it is a specific, defined, I'm going to do it threat. Maybe that's why Florio is calling this a, quote, private thought, rather than one that's been expressed directly to Cowboys management by Zeke or by his agent, Rocky Arsenault. It's also strange that in PFT's story it reports that he will sit out, but later makes it that he might sit out, which, as I've mentioned, is completely two different things. Will sit out is etched in concrete. Might sit out? Well, they all might sit out. Everybody who wants a new contract could sit out across the entire league. That's a story, but it's a different kind of story. It's been suggested to me that the report was published less on the strength of a source close to Elliott and more on the strength of what maybe should have been called, quote, league gossip. I believe that had Florio written this and said the buzz is, or the gossip is, or word is, that the story would be less powerful but more accurate. I think this is an agent talked to another agent and then talked to a player and then the player talked to another player, and the next thing you know, somebody in that circle, in that telephone game, in that sewing bee, talked to Mike Florio, and now we've got a story. At the same time, the Joneses and the Dallas front office in its entirety, well aware of the ramifications of all of this. Dak Prescott needs a contract. Amari Cooper needs a contract. Those guys top the list of guys that the Cowboys would like to extend before the season starts. There's not a pecking order, as Jerry has made clear, in terms of what might happen first, but Dak is a priority, and Amari's a priority, and Jalen and Byron and maybe even Lyle Collins are on this list somewhere as well. The wild card in all of this, of course, is Zeke's behavioral issue. Recently met with Commissioner Roger Goodell and will not be punished for his Vegas video incident. But that doesn't mean all the concerns disappear. That doesn't mean the gray cloud goes away entirely. The offseason of Zeke before Vegas was a brilliant one. His behavior was incredible. His presence in the community was notable. And all that is still good stuff. But the Vegas thing would cause him to seem, logically, to lose a little bit of leverage, as would one other thing. Go back to that all-for-one cowboy movie, TV show thing on Amazon Prime. In Jerry Jones's eyes, the support that Jerry has offered Zeke through tumultuous times deserves to be rewarded. It would make sense for Jerry to play the loyalty card here, while also pledging to immediately prioritize an extension. Publicly talk about Dak and Amari and Zeke, all on the same plane. Even though you've got 2 years left of Zeke and don't have to do it. He wants you to do it. You want to do it. Let's find a number. I think that's going to be the solution here in the end, as I told Sean Sharif this morning, that Jerry gets with Zeke and says, I had your back. And if Zeke counters by saying, I'm going to sit out, Jerry counters back by saying, you already sat out 6 games. Remember that one time that we cost ourselves a Super Bowl because you missed 6 games, and I supported you then. Now we need you for 16. And I'm going to support you now, you need to support me back. I think that's a valid approach from the paternal Jerry Jones here. If Zeke disappears, Cowboys just drafted a pair of runners, Pollard and Weber, but they aren't 2-time rushing champions. They aren't the straw that stirs the drink. They aren't what Cowboys management concedes that Zeke is, quote from Steven. He's right there at the top of the best in the business, if not the best. One way or another, despite sources or gossip, Ezekiel Elliott figures to be proving that he's the best, figures to be on the field establishing that he's the best in Oxnard with the rest of us on or before August 6th. If you like our Cowboy coverage at 105.3 The Fan and here at Fish Sports, go like us on Twitter and Facebook if you wish as well at Fish Sports. But then give us a what is it called? A subscribe here on this YouTube. We will be doing this obviously, certainly in Oxnard, and then in San Francisco, and then in Honolulu, and then back in Frisco, probably for the rest of all my born days. Fish out.